Hello, guys. Was asked if the person should be using Roina. So already they're in Ardor Dark. So by base, I'm usually not going to advise it just because Dark has a lot of great midline units. I'm thinking about Jeet, Dale, Alice, and then of course all the legends they have. And Ardor already has Leah and Victoria, so you only need one of those to start with if you're not even using any legends at all. So in unless you're mono Ardor, you shouldn't even really be looking at Roina. So let's look at her kit. Her highest value is speed, but actually power. Her stats aren't that great though, because they're not that high in total. Power followed by speed, technique, and vitality. So reflex-wise, she is going to be limited whatever you do. She's going to be decently fast, and building her for damage seems to be a good idea. So let's look at the ace, increase attack power by 48%, counterattack resistance by 32% for other players. This actually can be usable if you don't have William, because a lot of Ardor build actually run with counterattack resistance. If you combine that with Death Queen, a few FTSs here and there, you can pretty much cap out counterattack resistance and give up entirely on reflex. So this isn't even a bad ace. Let's say that right now. Now active, increase attack power by 70%, critical rate by 50, available once every 15 minutes. I mean, it's a one-trick pony. It's okay. I mean, in early game, it's going to help you beat them down the first time. Increase attack power by 40% and always start a match with 15% action. So it's not always 15%, but it's at the start of the match. Now, that is kind of meh, but again, like her penetration, it's for the very beginning of the match, so cool if you're going fast, but not that great in the long run, because it's not always. Decrease the defensive enemy from the position by 20%, increase the damage you receive by 50% for 15 minutes with a penetration or pass. Now that right there, that's like the best skill she got. Why? Because if she penetrates, she's going to give DI by 50%. Since it's a debuff, if anyone from the backline penetrates, they will have weaker defenders to penetrate. It's going to lower their defense. It's just going to lower their survival overall. And the best part of all this is with a pass. Now, for those who don't realize what that means, is when she's in midline and penetrates to the front line and makes a pass, she is effectively giving the front line 50% damage increase and 20% defense down while not even being a frontline unit. And since the goalkeeper and all the people frontline need to die to lose a debuff, it's pretty damn good. So that's something you shouldn't underestimate. And this is really where her value comes from, is this one skill here. Then she has Luck 2, who's pretty good, just not as OP. Increase critical rate and reflex by 40%, but once again, technique value of 232. Most people have 260, 280. If you get the exact same reflex buffers, she will still lose. Now, chains, you won't see those. So you should never run 4 stars. Friendship, Victoria, Erica, yeah. You should, first of all, Victoria should be on your team, whatever the hell's going down, just because you're supposed to be Mono Ardor if you're running her. So yeah, Victoria's there. That should always be activated. Now, Nari, I'm sorry to say, Renee is so much better. So, I mean, you can do it for the chains, but Renee, Elaine, and whatever your striker is kind of OP. Then we got Avnor. Now, the chances of seeing him, especially after the healer nerf, are microscopic, even in Mono Dark. I mean, Vericer has more value, just anyone does. Anyone does. So, let's look at the stone build. What exactly would you try build? Now, again, this is going to depend entirely on if you believe you're going to have enough reflex or not. What I mean again is you do need to point out that the technique value is quite low. So how much you multiply it, it will never really match someone who by base has more reflex. I'm thinking, for example, the Metatrons. So you got to be aware of that. So how are you going to do this? The safest way would be to put Fontus Tissue Sample. Because to start with, she has attack power here, critical rate here. So if you give her counterattack resistance and more attack power, then you can make the entire build just based on goddamn damage. And I don't remember exactly how much counterattack FTS gives, because, well, I've never played the counterattack game. So I would just say put a dark speed or penetration stone in the center slot just to really max out the counterattack. Then you can put an Ardor critical damage, and then depending on how high your crit rate is, because I mean at this point, why not crit? Because you already got crit rate from here and crit rate from here. You could put another crit stone, or you could put a penetration or even a dribble stone. Whatever you're able to stick in, just I would advise for her to look at speed and some crit subs just to really maximize the value of her kit and maximize the art or critical damage. If you really want to reroll her, I don't believe it's worth it. In a counterattack build, you could reroll another one of the Ardor slots to make a dark slot like this. You're 100% sure you're going to max out counterattack resistance. And then in the center slot, you can put another Ardor critical damage like this. You'd be running two of them. Not a bad deal if you're truly a fan of Rowena. Again, I know they exist. I mean, I'm the fan of Leia, so whatever's floating your boat. Now, if instead you want to go on the dark, not dark, the reflex route, so you're going to need an Ardor critical damage. I don't know if you're running critical resistance, but if you are, you could put another critical damage or a light um, reflex stone. Then you're going to put usually an Ardor dribble stone, just because that's going to be giving you more spirit when you're going to be attacking. And then you're going to put a dark life stone. Um, of course, if you prefer to throw a unique in there, you could throw any of the damage uniques, blazing essence, ignition. Is it called ignition catalyst? There's two hoop penetration on Ardor that are pretty cool for this build. So that's what you could look at. And if you want, you can even throw an EMB on her. It's really up to you again. She has a lot of uses. Just always, reflex-wise, she might be out reflex. Counter resistance-wise, she might not. And you're pretty much assured she's going to penetrate. Plus, you can work more on speed stats. So that's more what I would advise. So I hope this helps you guys get a little understanding. Again, she's an attacker, so damage is her thing. Reflex damage is going to be her thing. So building your damage-wise is always going to have high potential, but her kit isn't that great outside of Mono Ardor just because they don't have that many OP midline units unless you own all the legends. So unless you don't own a Choi, you can pretty much use her in Mono Ardor. Out of there, again, replace her by Vivid Fear and it's like magical. So hope this gives you guys a little insight on how Roina works. Again, there's a bunch of other stone builds. These were just some of the most common ones. Have a good day, guys, and if you have any questions or comment, write it down in the comments below.